essential Korean horror movies that will give you sleepless nights. Korean horror films emerged with the rest of Korean cinema in the early 20th century. However, they didn't receive the attention they deserved until the late 1990s. Several features, themes, and imagery seen in Korean movies have been heavily influenced by Japanese horror. Additionally, most Korean horror films focus on characters' psychological angst rather than the graphic blood and gore aspects. Modern South Korean films can be identified by their stylish direction, social commentary, and blending of various genres together. The Korean horror and thriller genres succeeded in acquiring more attention from an international audience than others, Hollywood directors having remade several Korean horror films in English. This video will focus on some of the scariest Korean horror films ever made.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Death Bell, 2008. The story revolves around an elitist high school where students and their parents' social status are of utmost importance. Things take an ominous turn when students begin disappearing and dying one by one in the most bizarre ways. A grim voice on the PA system warns everyone that they will face fatal consequences if they try to leave. It quizzes them and warns them of the students suffering if their questions are not answered correctly. Mr. Kim tries his best to handle the lethal situation. Death Bell is former music video director Chang's feature film debut. He incorporates several slasher elements into this film while extensively borrowing from popular Asian horror movies. It has an intriguing plot with a thrilling twist at the end. It is a commentary on the portrayal of stress and abuse in the Eastern education system. It displays complex death traps that provide intense moments of suspense and a good deal of blood and gore. The setting and cinematography are generally grim due to its premise. Chang does a commendable job of portraying typical Asian high school students with as much background and personality depth as possible. Although the script seems slightly implausible to some viewers, they instantly overlooked it due to the film's high entertainment value. Cinderella, 2006. This movie revolves around the peaceful lives of Hyun-soo, a fatherless child, and her mother, a renowned plastic surgeon. Suddenly, some of Hyun-soo's friends who were operated on by her mother begin cutting out their faces to commit suicide. She also starts feeling the presence of a third party in the house where only she and her mother live. One day, she stumbles upon a secret from her past, capable of disrupting both her and her mother's lives severely. Cinderella is a South Korean supernatural horror film directed by Bong Man-dae. First and foremost, it showcases an underlying message regarding women's obsession with their appearance and skewed conceptions of beauty. He objectively portrays the frightening lengths that women go to in order to maintain them through themes of horror and dark imagery. The film contains breathtaking cinematography and unfolds at a decent pace. Its surprisingly soothing soundtrack makes it seem like less of a horror movie and more like a melodramatic one, with a supernatural overtone during specific sequences. Furthermore, Do Ji-won swayed the audience with her remarkable performance, which left them wanting more and made this a masterpiece worth watching. Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, 2018. Gonjiam Haunted Asylum portrays an internet broadcaster who recruits a few people for his show, Experience the Horror at Gonjiam. Their task is to explore the haunted asylum and live stream it for the public to watch. The host plays several tricks on the players to attract more viewers. But things begin going sideways when they realize there are other entities inside with them. This Korean found-footage horror film has been highly praised for its use of cutting-edge modern technology. Although its plot contains certain cliches from Western found-footage horror movies, its eeriness remained throughout, and its use of the live-stream trope is executed realistically. It contains top-notch special effects and ventures into some of the asylum's darkest corners to scare the wits out of people. Despite being in the found footage style, it showcases surprisingly steady camera work, and the actors portray decent performances. Director Jong Bom-sik begins the film with a leisurely paced opening sequence, but ultimately paves the way for an entertaining horror film with great jump scares, leaving viewers under their blankets. A Tale of Two Sisters, 2003. This film narrates the story of two sisters, Soo-mi and Soo-yeon. Soo-mi, a teenage girl, returns home after spending her time in a mental institution. Her widower father has remarried and lives with her beloved sister, Soo-yeon, whom she is very protective of and a cruel stepmother. At home, besides tolerating their stepmother's obsessive and unbalanced behavior, Soo-mi is faced with ghosts haunting their house, which negatively impacts her recovery. This masterpiece, directed by Kim Ji-woon, is a South Korean psychological horror film. Other than being an edge-of-your-seat thriller, this award-winning film is also a heart-wrenching drama. Its plot is as intricate as its cinematography is stunning. It contains optimal lighting, a captivating soundtrack, and a storyline that satisfactorily ties up all loose ends. Additionally, it has some intelligent twists and sharp contrast in colors, making it very aesthetically pleasing to watch. The film's horror factor focuses more on psychological fear rather than goriness, and portrays outstanding performances by Soo-jung and Moon Gun-young. I Saw the Devil, 2010. The film follows NIS agent Kim Soo-hyun, who sets out to avenge his fiancée, who was brutally murdered by Jung Kyun-chul, a psychopath serial killer. He is so determined to seek revenge that he promises he will do so no matter what, even if it means him turning into a monster. The primary theme portrayed in this film is the brutal realism regarding human beings' psyche and society. It displays brightly lit cinematography, which creates a binary in the dimly lit action sequences and murder scenes. The camera work is simple but very effective in conveying the characters' emotions better than dialogue. Although there is a stark contrast between protagonist Soo-hyun and the antagonist Kyung-chul, they complement each other well and work off each other's strengths. A central focus that director Kim Ji-woon incorporates in this film is Soo-hyun's character development, which gradually turns him over to the dark side, resembling the man he is out to seek revenge on. Whispering Corridors, 1998. In an all-girls high school in South Korea, a frightened teacher, Mrs. Park, calls her colleague, He Eun-young, her former student, to inform her that Jin Ju-jong, a student that died earlier, might still be wandering the halls. However, the line gets disconnected and Mrs. Park is attacked and killed. The next day, students learn that her replacement is an abusive teacher, Mr. Oh, who believes in corporal punishment. During his class, a disturbed student, G.O., gets into trouble for drawing a picture of Mrs. Park's body. Soon, Eun-young suspects that Ji-oh might be Jin-ju's ghost. While trying to investigate her suspicion, Eun-young uncovers a dark secret about the past involving Jin-ju and Mrs. Park. If we have learned anything from Asian horror films, it is never to underestimate them, because they comprise some of the most bone-chilling plots. Similarly, this film portrays a terrifying atmosphere created by the ominous high school setting. Director Park Ki-hyung invokes a subtle commentary on high school popularity and status, contrasted with a lack of identity. The film was part of the Asian horror explosion in Korean cinema. It followed the liberalization of censorship after the country was free of its status as a military dictatorship. It also displays the harsh realities of authoritarianism and conformity in the South Korean education system. In addition, the film's climax presents a rather cheesy sequence. Nevertheless, this slight hint of melodrama is enjoyable within the otherwise scary movie. The Wailing, 2016. Set in a small village in South Korea named Gokseong, The Wailing portrays protagonist Jong-gu, a police officer, investigating a series of strange deaths caused by a mysterious disease. When word spreads that a Japanese stranger living in the mountains might be an evil spirit responsible for the disease, Jong-gu with his partner and a Japanese-speaking priest decide to pay him a visit. Soon, Jong-gu receives disturbing news from a mysterious woman that leaves him wondering whether the strange man is truly responsible for everyone's death. This is a South Korean horror film directed by Nong Hong-jin. It contains a complex plot supported by a coherent narrative. Hong-jin adds his unique spin that distinguishes itself from most modern horror films, and it includes the perfect pace for viewers to absorb the story. It portrays fluidity in its execution and contains elements of suspense and thrill. Although it doesn't have many jump scares, it has a terrifying vibe that sends chills down one's spine. Viewers enjoy its feature of representing multiple genres, and like most South Korean films, it has remarkable cinematography. Its large commercial success is proof of it being a must-watch for avid horror fans. Red Shoes, 2005. The plot centers on Soon-jae, who discovers her husband's illicit affair and moves out to a cheap apartment at Gukseong with her daughter, Han Tae-soo. One day, while returning home, she finds a pair of red shoes on the subway, which she brings home. Her daughter, who is immediately fascinated by them, is unaware of their negative impact on people, and Soon-jae soon begins having terrible nightmares. After her friend, Kim Mi-hee, steals the shoes, she is killed in a terrible accident shortly after. Finally, Soon-jae's lover, Cho In-choi, traces the roots of the shoes only to uncover the unfortunate fate that its initial owner was doomed with. This South Korean horror film was directed by Kim Yong-gyun, who received its inspiration from the 1845 fairy tale of the same name by Hans Christian Andersen. It is appreciated for its detailed character sketch and concrete direction. Not to mention, it displays remarkable cinematography and an ambient soundtrack. It betrays thrilling plot twists and an applauding performance by Kim Hae-soo. The red shoes symbolize all the blood and gore that the film exhibits, and it showcases unique manipulation of colors to complement and enhance the ambience of particular scenes. Overall, it is a thrilling watch that appeals to a wide range of viewers. R-Point, 2004. Set during the Vietnam War, a South Korean base receives a radio transmission from a squad in which the men were presumed to be lost or dead. A series of extraordinary events unfold as a platoon is sent to rescue the team. Our Point is a South Korean wartime action horror film, written and directed by Kong Soo Chung. It is a pleasant blend of all things that make Korean cinema great. It has a sharp, intelligent storyline, beautiful cinematography, and remarkable performances. It is also well paced throughout, while brilliantly capturing the physical and psychological pressures of war. This is done by out-of-this-world camera techniques and excellent performances by the actors. Each main character has an individual personality rather than being portrayed as generic soldiers. Furthermore, the film is action-heavy, intense, and conducts an atmosphere exploration of the line between supernatural and reality. It has an overall creepy vibe, and the eeriness increasing as the film progresses. Loner, 2008. This film revolves around a student, Jung-soo Na, who isolates herself in her room after her best friend commits suicide. She believes that she isn't alone in there, while her family is alarmed and turns to a psychologist for help. Soon, Soo-na learns a shocking truth about her family that will change her life forever. This South Korean horror film is director Park Jae-sik's debut. It's based on hikikomori, which is the phenomenon of introverted individuals choosing to withdraw from all forms of social life. He's praised for creating a movie on this premise because it's an important social phenomenon rarely discussed in public platforms and comments on its impacts, which are often deemed a disorder. It's a film with a flawless narrative that is tackled via the introduction of multiple aspects. Jae-sik optimally uses the plot to send a strong message and, at the same time, incorporates elements of horror to scare the audience. Although some of the performances are criticized for being melodramatic, they complement the premise and add to its realism. It has decent cinematography and a setting with good background music.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.